Hello everyone and welcome back to Vlogmas, welcome back to the channel. So today I kind of wanted to give you guys an updated skincare routine since I haven't done one in a very long time. So I was like, you know what, for day 2 of Vlogmas, let's do this. I was going to show the Christmas tree today, but I kind of going to give it its own video. So that might be tomorrow's vlog. Maybe not, maybe it might take in my day. You never know. We're just going with the flow this year. That sounded so robotic, but that's exactly how my mind works right now. Okay, we're just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna go in with the Aquafina Spotter Cream Cleansing Gel, and I also wanted to take today's vlog as an opportunity to speak with you guys about a little something that I spoke briefly on in yesterday's vlog, which was about my album. So I released my 3rd studio album a month ago, well, kind of a month ago. Actually on my mom's birthday, it's gonna be a month ago, December 17th. I put it out on November 17th, 2023, with very much a lot of delays. This album was delayed by a year and a half for a plethora of reasons, but it's called Joy. It is my 3rd studio album, and honestly, it is probably one of the hardest bodies of work that I've ever done. Like, it took so long for me to finish it, and it took me so much to truly piece everything together and make it a cohesive body of work. I mean, it took so long. To put into perspective just how long it took for me to really put this record together, pre-production for the album started in late 2019, around the time I put out my Christmas album, which, by the way, thank you all. Thank every single one of you who still listens to the Christmas album year after year. I see the streams roll in, I see the cash roll in, so I know people are listening to the Christmas album every year, and I really do appreciate it, even though it's not, I wouldn't say it's my best body of work for Christmas, but you know, it's what I got for now. And that's when production for Joy started. However, before, it had a completely different concept and a completely different name. There was completely different topics that I was addressing on the record. By the way, this is the La Prairie Cellular Refining Lotion. This is one of my favorite toners of all time. And that's another thing I want to touch on. I know I'm touching on the album today, but this is another thing I want to touch on. Every toner now on the market is exfoliating, and I'm just like, you don't need that much exfoliation. Sometimes you just need hydration. Sometimes hydration is just everything you need. You don't need to exfoliate with a billion different things. Anyways, production started then, and I kind of wrote a little bit. I took a pause in 2020, as the rest of the world did, and I did self-isolation, which was, you know, at the time when I wrote my letter of 2020 on New Year's Eve that year, I wrote that self-isolation was a flop, because it was. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was definitely a flop. It didn't perform as well as I wanted it to. However, as the years have gone by, I really have grown to love that record because it's so experimental as opposed to everything I've done before. It's just a very weird, experimental, but beautiful body of work that I still love to this day, and I still listen to it every now and then. I'm not a huge fan of my own work, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just listen to it to critique myself most of the time, so I really have to like separate myself from my own music if I ever just want to listen to my own music, because if not, I just start critiquing myself, and I'm just like, can we put out a special edition and like re-record this and like make this sound better, make this like feel nicer, have the bass go a little deeper. So I can't listen to my own work without critiquing. This was the La Mer Treatment Lotion, which is, it's a tried and true. It's been in my routine for the past 5 years, and it'll probably stay here until I die. It's retinol night, so I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm just gonna go in straight for my retinol, just because it does a little hydration as well. And this has been a gem of mine for the longest time, if not for the majority of this year. This is the Mara Algae Retinol Face Oil. This has by far become my favorite retinol of all time. And I've tried so many retinols. I've tried bakuchiols, I've tried retinol alternatives. None of them have done it for me. Like, truly, none of them have done it for me, much like this one has. It's $120, which is not that crazy for a retinol. I mean, I've tried retinols that are like, what, $400? This one is my favorite. From 2020, then 21, 22, and then this year, 23, that's how long it took me to truly perfect the album and perfect exactly what I wanted to say. Plus, I lived a lot of life, especially within 2021 and 22. You know, I found myself in a quote-unquote relationship slash situationship that lasted about 6 to 7 months, and you know, it was beautiful while it happened. You know, it was a beautiful moment in my life, and it was a beautiful time in my life, and you know, I felt the happiest I had ever felt at the time, because it was something new for me and it was something completely different for me. And you know, the people around me were also happy for me, and it was just a really joyful time in my life. However, at the same time, it was a very, very emotionally deteriorating and very emotionally grueling time in my life, because as I was in this situation, you know, things were starting to pop up within it. People were starting to get involved. Things started to get really messy. Things started to get really ugly from both sides. And it just ended up being such a toxic environment to be in. And through that, I was writing everything. So within that 7-month time frame, I think I wrote about 50 songs, and only 14 made the cut. 2 of them having been written 2 years before this even happened, so around 2019. And when it ended so horribly. You know, I fell into probably one of the worst depressions I had ever felt in my life. Like, truly, in my adult life, I don't think I ever felt such a deep, deep pain in my life. And it wasn't necessarily a pain because it ended. It was mostly a pain because there was so much uncertainty. There was so much left unsaid, and there was not a proper closure. And that's where His Man comes in handy. That's where I wrote that song, you know, and I wrote this on Instagram, but better to say it here in person. But His Man definitely healed me. Like, that song for sure healed me. And I think had I not written that song, I feel like to some degree I would have still been stuck in that mindset that I was stuck in during that time. And I feel like I probably would not have moved on. I mean, I probably would have moved on by now, but it would not have been as easy for me to move on as it was when I wrote that song, because that song was my closure to me. You know, it's an honest depiction from the other side's perspective in regards to a breakup. So in the song, it sounds like I'm saying these things to somebody, but in reality, somebody else is saying these things to me. And it's a really raw, ugly, and realistic approach to a very messy breakup. So the chorus is like, you had to paint me into the image that would fit your narrative. So, you know, those lines are the other side telling that to me, like, you made me into this, you wanted me to be what you wanted for your own image, you manipulated me into doing this, and this, because that's what I would imagined the other side would have told me if we had a proper closure. That's what I would have imagined them saying to me, because I knew them for, you know, a chunk of life, and it was enough of a chunk of life that I got to know how they were and how their mind worked. So it was incredible because it led to a really beautiful song. As if one oil wasn't enough, we are now going to go in with the Mara Universal Face Oil. This one is incredible because it just hydrates the skin, but it's beautiful after the retinol face oil, because the retinol face oil is a little bit more thicker, so you give it some time to sink into the skin, and then the Universal Face Oil is a little more lighter. So this, again, I just press into the skin. Didn't give me this beautiful just glow to the skin. Super smooth. Let me tell you, if you knew me in 2018, you would be like, why the fuck is he doing so many oils? And trust me, I would say the same thing too if I didn't know me from 2018 till now. I used to never be like an oils person. I used to be like, I'm never gonna do oils. They all break me out. They all damage my skin. They all ruin my skin. But after I learned about Mara, I love oils now. I really do love oils, and they just they do something to my skin. I was gonna be like, they make something to my skin. They do something to my skin that just makes me feel so incredible, and even the smell of this is amazing. So if you see these at your local Sephora, definitely get one because you're not gonna regret it. From there, I pieced the whole album together, and if you really listen to the entire album from start to finish, from Fall Again all the way to the title track, it is truly a story from start to finish. And you know, you could easily say that this is a breakup album, and I wouldn't blame you. I would even say it's a breakup album. However, in my own sick and twisted mind, I like to think that this record is a villain origin story. And the last song, instead of it being a sweet and endearing song, it's a very disturbing and creepy song, because it's sung from the perspective of somebody that's gone through so many manic episodes, and they're at the breaking point, and just being like, I found the joy in my life. Like that kind of perspective. So I guess that sort of alters your way that you listen to the record. But that's the way I want people to listen to it. I want it to be sort of a villain origin story, and how this is how I ended up the way I was. So when you see the album cover, when you see all of the photo shoots I did for this album on my Instagram, like, and you listen to the record, I want you to visualize what I look like now. Start from Fall Again, end in Joy, then look at all the artwork. My way of you listening to this album is, I want you to see what I became. I want you to see how I turned into what I look like for the promotional work. That's why I look like what I look like in the pictures from everything I lived through in the album. This one right here, absolutely incredible. Although this is the old package and she changed the new packaging, and it looks even more stunning than this. And you know, this album was 3 years of hard work, and it took me a long time to put it out, because I was originally going to put this out in the summer of 2022, and I was dead set on doing it. The recordings were done, everything was done, everything was ready to go, but something in me just did not allow me to put it out, mainly because everything was still so fresh at the time. All of the wounds were so fresh, everything was still very, very, very opened and scarred. And you know, I really took a step back, and I really told myself, if I put this album out now, it might cause more destruction than if I put it out a little later. It ended up being a little too later, but you know, better late than never. I just felt like it would have caused more harm than good if I put that album out in 2022, because everything was so fresh. Well, I waited a while, and I waited, and I waited, and then I decided to just re-record the whole thing. Like early this year, I just decided, let's just re-record the whole thing. Let's just make sure these are demos. We'll save these, but let's just re-record the whole thing and let's see what happens. And I absolutely fell in love with how the album sounded like then. And you know, I'm at a point where I can listen to the album without feeling that like deep remorse, or without feeling that like deep pain that I felt when I first wrote these songs. And if I'm being honest, it is the very first time in my life where I can listen to my own work and like genuinely enjoy what I'm listening to. Like, it doesn't sound like I'm just trying to critique myself, and I'm not listening to it to see what I can change. I'm listening to it because I genuinely love it, and that has not happened ever. I love what I did with this album. It is truly one of my most prized body of works. I mean, The Life of a Comedian will always have a special place in my heart, because you know, that album took 3 years as well. However, that is a 30-song album. Well, 27 now. I had to take a couple bits out because I did not feel comfortable having them out there in the world anymore. But still, that record is gigantic, and it was an incredibly ambitious body of work to put out at the young age of 20, and now I am 25, and putting out Joy just feels like such a breath of fresh air. But not only that, it is something that I'm truly proud of, because I wrote it out of a very dark time in my life, and I was able to, you know, create something magical. Hold on. But this record came out of a very dark place in my life, and I always think back to this one quote from the show Abbott Elementary. Like, I've seen the episode, but also it pops up on my TikTok as well, where one of the teachers says, you know, people have thrown dirt on my name, and they've also given me flowers. It's all a garden to me. And the way I describe my process of making Joy and releasing Joy is that I went through hell in that period of time in my life, and you know, it's the loneliest I had ever felt, and it's truly the saddest I had ever felt in my adult life, because I had never gone through something of that caliber ever in my life. Like, that's just something I never experienced before, and I felt so alone. Obviously I had support from people at the time, but you can only have so much support in those types of situations because people will never understand what you're going through. People would never understand how you feel because they haven't been in your shoes. You know, obviously I had the support from friends, but they were never in that same position that I was in, so they could never comprehend or understand why I was still bringing up stuff from that time, or why I kept pandering on and on about that moment, because they had never gone through something like that. So to some degree I felt like a burden to the people around me if I even discussed that or if I even mentioned that. And still to this day I still do always feel kind of like a burden anytime I mention something of this caliber, or even when I talk about the album, or when I share the link to my album to like the close friends around me. You know, I felt like I was causing a burden to people because this is my experience, this is my life, and it's not theirs. And you know, I'm gonna be honest, you know, I did not receive the support I thought I would receive with this record, and you know, I'm trying to understand it, and maybe I'll never understand it. Maybe I'll never understand it. Maybe I'll never understand why I didn't receive the support I wanted to receive. Because to me personally, and this is on a true personal level, we're really back to vlogging now. Actions speak louder than words. To me, you can say congratulations to me a million times. You can say I'm with you a million times. You can say I support you a million times. You can say it until you die. But if you are not walking the walk to what you talk about, then it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, if you're saying congrats, I'm so proud of you, oh my god, this is amazing, I love it, I love it, I love it, but you never listen to it, like, I don't care how many times you say congrats. I don't care about what you do. Like, I will show up for people that show up for me. And if you're not gonna show up for me, then don't expect me to be there for your successes. You know, like, friendship to me and any kind of relationship to me is a two-way street. I give you, you give me. Like, it's an even exchange, an even distribution. If I give you 100, I want 100. But it's not gonna be, I give you 100 and you give me nothing. Like, that's not what I'm gonna do. So it really put into perspective the kind of people that have my back. I will say, I'm incredibly appreciative of the people around me who truly took the time to listen to the body of work, because, you know, it's something that I really poured my everything into, and it's something that I will forever be proud of for doing. And it ignited that spark in me that I felt like I was losing for such a long amount of time. You know, there was a point in time where I thought I was never gonna put the album out because I told myself, no, it's too personal, I don't want to put this out, what if they see it, what's gonna happen? But then I really told myself, you know what, fuck it, like, it's here, like, I have it here. I have a complete 14-song album, there is a concept, I have pictures, I have everything. Let's just do it, let's just put it out, and from that we can then write more. And write more I have. So all I'm gonna say is, you never know what's gonna happen in 2024. And that is my updated skincare routine and a little synopsis of Joy, the album. If you have any more questions about the album, definitely let me know in the comment section. If you've listened to it, thank you. If not, what are you waiting for? It's in my channel as well, so you can't escape it. Anyways, that's it for today's vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and comment down below what you want me to do. It is Christmas. There's a lot of things for me to do this year. And subscribe as well. If you're new here, hello, you've come at a perfect time. So please subscribe. Make sure you have the bell notifications turned on as well. And I will see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 3 or 7. Day 3/7. Goodbye.